Hello and welcome to my first devlog of the Northern Realm. Now you may be wondering, what is the Northern Realm? The Northern Realm is something I've been world building for quite a few years now, with the intention of turning it into an open world RPG game. I have not started working on it because I've been working on 2D games and game jams and things like that, so I decided it's finally time for me to start working on this game. It's a game I've been wanting to make for years. I feel if I don't do it now, then maybe I never will. So I'm going to be posting these videos weekly, maybe bi-weekly, I'm not quite sure yet. It depends how much time I have to work on this game, to show you the progress I've made as I go along. Now, making an open world RPG is new for me as someone who does a lot of 2D work. Though the game mechanics will be similar, there'll be a lot of new things that I will never have done before, that I will get to try out as I make this game. So I'll be showing you along the way all the mistakes I make, all the things I learn. I'll be showing you the technical side of what I'm going to do and what I'm getting into, as well as just talking about the world itself, because I spent a lot of time building this world and I think it's very interesting. It brings up a lot of cool questions. The game's going to mainly be focused on quests and the character relations between NPCs, but I want it to be a lot of options. So if you don't want to follow the main quest, maybe you can go against it and there'll be a different quest line that you can follow, and maybe like an evil and a good quest line kind of thing. I also want there to be a lot to do, so a lot of explorations, dungeons and caves that are not related to quests, but if you wanted to go out and explore, you can go out and explore. Or if you just want to talk to some NPCs, go around from the bars in the cities, then that's something you'll be able to do. I want to make this world as open-ended as possible. I know that's a big ask for just an individual developer with not much of a budget compared to these other RPG games that are made by these AAA studios with large teams and large budgets. But I'm going to be trying my best and showing you along the way. This project is going to take a very long time, so there will be a lot of these devlogs. So I just hope you enjoy watching and follow along with the process. Now to start off with, there's going to be three major things I want to get done in this first week of development, and that is to get a basic landscape of the world itself built up. I want to make sure it's all textured and how I want it to look. To begin with, most of these systems are going to be rough and I'm going to edit them as I go, adding like details to each city, paths up mountain, entrances for caves and things like that. The second thing I want to get done is I want to get some sort of trees in the world, mainly for checking optimization to make sure the game will run okay, even on lower end machines, but just to get a look and feel of how the trees are going to be in the world. And to finish it off, I want a very, very simple day and night cycle. The last thing will only take a few minutes, and it's something I have done before, but I just wanted to see how the light will affect the landscape and how everything will look. So to start off with, the first thing, I imported the landscape. I had made height maps previously from maps I had before from this world, and I created a rough height map and colour map for the world. The colour map consisted of three textures: snow, rock and sand, and I imported it over, set all the sizes to be the correct size, made it slightly larger, and imported it into Unreal, which didn't take too long and was very simple. But this is where I ran into my first issue. The colour map I had hastily put together tiled all over the world, creating small versions of the colour map, repeated all over the landscape. And this is not what I wanted. I wanted the landscape to look realistic, with the sides of the mountain having rocks but with still snow falling down it, and the sand only creeping up just below the water level. Now, due to this being the first time me texturing a landscape or anything of this size, I had to do a lot of reading on the Unreal Engine, especially towards optimization of these textures and how to properly text them using the materials and the material nodes built into Unreal Engine. The first thing I did was make material functions of all three of the textures. I used a camera depth fade to create two versions, one for further away, which would create a lot larger of a texture, and one for closer up that would be more detailed and precise for the player to view. I connected these to lerps, so depending on how far away they are from the player depends on how large the texture is. With a smooth transition, so the player doesn't notice this sudden change in the texture type. I also made sure that the textures didn't tile in a organised fashion, but more in a random fashion that would create a more natural looking environment. Once I had created all of these material functions, I put them into the main material for the landscape. Using blend nodes and some slopes, I could calculate the angle of the slopes and how much shading I wanted to do. I blended these between the material functions to create smooth transitions between the materials on the landscape. This allowed me to have mountains that look realistic, with the rocks going up sharper edges, but snow still dripping down them. Because if you look at real mountains in the world, they are not just rocks completely. There is a lot of snow that covers mountains, especially if you do things like skiing or snowboarding. You would have seen this before. There's a lot of snow on the mountains. There's obviously sheer drops with rock faces, and slightly steeper drops and slopes with rock faces, and I tried to create this effect in my world. The Northern Realm itself is actually a homebrew world I made for a Dungeons & Dragons campaign. I've been running campaigns for most of my life as a DM. I've played a few as a player, but mainly ran them. And the Northern Realm was a homebrew world I made for a group of friends that's still going on now. It has been running for over a year now. And it's a world that when I created, I told my players, this is the game I want to make. A game that I can tell the stories I want to tell. A world that's perfect for me to make a game. Though I continued to put it off more and more of actually making the game. I knew I always wanted an RPG, and out of the many worlds I've made, it's hard to decide which one I wanted to use. But the Northern Realm was just the perfect setting for telling the stories I wanted to tell. And having that gritty and darker theme to it just made it perfect for how I wanted to present the game. Finally, with the texturing of the landscape, I decided to remove the sand material function. This was simply just because of the freezing climate that I was planning for the Northern Realm. Swimming doesn't seem naturally realistic, and building entire systems for underwater and swimming around would be a lot more effort and a lot more for me to do, with already the amount of work that I've put upon myself by making this game. So I decided to remove the sand, as it wouldn't be seen by the player, as they wouldn't be able to go underwater under the freezing conditions. Most of the water will have large ice patches and icebergs, but the ships of the Northern Realm are designed to have big metal breakers at the front to destroy this ice to allow trade to continue. Now, as I said, the Northern Realms was a homebrew world I created that I think I should tell you a bit more about while making this game. So the Northern Realm was founded long ago, a hostile land that slowly chilled over the years. As temperatures dropped, people began to form communities and systems to further their survivals. Lords began to form cities, and one of them was deemed king of these lands. Though mainly peaceful from war over the years, the land itself is filled with monsters and beasts adapted to survive the harsh conditions of the freezing temperatures of the Northern Realm, but so too have the people that survived here. The people that live in the cities of the Northern Realm are different to those of the southern continents, mainly adapting to wildlife around them. Some large bulls with thick coats, walking on hind legs, their hooves adapted to be able to pick up tools and weapons for survival. While others are fairly humanoid, with large coats of hairs or simple antlers and markings of animals found without their body. The Northern Realm itself has been established for 476 years, since the first king was elected. This started a new time period for the Northern Realm. The cities themselves seem to keep people warm, with the increase of refugees from nearby villages has put pressure on them for survival. Foods dwindle and people starve. Some turn to thievery, and others ambush trading caravans for supplies. Due to this and the ever-growing monster population, the Northern Realm's largest mercenary company, the Black Omen, provides ever-growing opportunities and income for the city's population. Now I'd finally finished texturing all the landscape and making it look how I wanted to, I decided it was time to decorate the landscape by putting loads of trees around. Now, the first thing you need to put trees around your world is to make some trees. Now, I am not very experienced in 3D modelling. I made some simple things like some barrels, swords, I've made a spaceship, but my 3D modelling skills are very basic. I have less than 100 hours modelling in general across different softwares such as Blender and Maya. So I needed a way to make trees generate quickly and simply that I could use in the world. That's when I came across an add-on called Sapling Tree Generator. Now this is a really useful tool for Blender. There's a lot of menus and it can be a bit complicated, so I did watch a tutorial to understand how all the different features worked and how to make a tree properly. I then, once I finished making a few different iterations of the tree to create a bit of randomness in the forest, I imported them all into Unreal and began to paint the textures on. This is when I noticed a problem. I first off started making them blueprints so the players could interact with the trees. I then realised that this is going to cause a large problem with optimization inside the game. So I scrapped this idea, deleting all the blueprints and instead making them standard static meshes and turning them into the foliage built in to Unreal Engine. Now, I had never used foliage before in Unreal Engine because most of my games are either 2D or indoor, and I've never made foliage or large open worlds like this before. So I decided to start painting the trees on, and instantly watched my FPS drop as I painted them. The trees were really close together, so I lowered the density, but then as I realised how large the area was, I realised how much power this was going to take on my computer to generate all these, and also painting each part of the land became like a daunting task that I began to put off. I left it a few days after starting the trees because I didn't know what I was doing, and it was very overwhelming to try something this new and this large. But after reading through some of the Unreal documents, I discovered that there's a procedural generator for foliage. So I began to try this out. I imported all the foliage I made and created a generator to cover the map. My PC then crashed. I thought maybe it was just a small issue, so I decided to restart my PC, close all my tabs and try again. This is when my PC crashed again. And I thought, well, maybe it's just struggling a bit, we'll give it one more go. And my PC crashed a third time. At this point, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether I was using the procedural generator wrong, or if the world was too big, or if the trees were too detailed. So I decided to tackle all three issues at once. I decided the landscape is far too large, with the small island in the centre being absolutely huge, taking about 5 minutes to cross at the Unreal walking speed. The trees were very high poly, had a lot of bevels, a lot of edges, a lot of branches and a lot of detailed leaves that were a bit too much. So I decided to bring in a more low poly, simple tree that I could use. And finally, I decided to go through all the procedural generator foliage settings and realised I had put them way too dense. They were trying to make way too many at different angles, overlapping each other, ignoring collisions, and just covering the entire world, coating from head to toe, all the mountains, all the water, all the land. After I'd figured out the issues I had created for myself, I wiped all of the trees, made the procedural generator only cover the land I wanted it to, so it would not go up the mountains and would not go to sea level. I created the trees by editing using the Unreal document to make clusters of trees that are spread out. Using the seed distance, I can make them further apart, adding collision boxes to the trees so the collisions work properly so they wouldn't overlap. I had to align them to normal, otherwise the trees would have been at angles because they were trying to follow the rotation of the landscape and not going straight up as they should. After doing this, I had a lot of low poly trees covering my world. I decided that I needed to pull down the culling distance. This means you can only see trees so far away. This worked very efficiently for optimization. There was one problem. If you were standing on the coast of the island or on the mainland, you could see that there was no trees anywhere in the distance. So I decided to create a fake tree, a smaller tree that would only render when so far away from the player, but wouldn't have any collisions and wouldn't exist really. It would only be there for aesthetic purposes. Once I did this, it looked a lot better. The trees were a lot more sparse far away, but it ran well and it seemed simple enough. But the problem is, this idea wasn't great. The call distance was a bit too far. The islands were trying to render in, and the distance kept changing, and it kept loading in too many, and it became quite overwhelming for my PC. As well as that, when you were on the mountains, you could see that there was no trees about because of the culling distance was too far. All you could see was a very thin layer of trees around the coasts. I decided I needed to find a better way to hide the trees and the culling distance in the world. Each city inside the Northern Realm has its own unique themes depending on where they are from. For example, the city of Terra has large stone walls around its perimeter, with a lot of its streets and homes buried into the mountainside. The mines go deep and provide a large amount of stone block exports for the other cities, allowing them to build sturdy foundation, defensive walls, and stone streets. Whereas the city of Terthia, located in the central island, gains most of its income through trade, with a busy dock that connects most of the cities of the Northern Realm, and large open markets that run through the centre of the city. One whole side of Terthia is completely covered in shops, designed to lure in customers that are coming in from the docks before they get to their homes. Terthia is known for being busy, stop for adventurers, and has large collections of artifacts within their local museum. And finally we have Slothian. Slothian is one of the first civilizations founded in the Northern Realm, way before the king was elected to rule. Here you will find ancient ruins and historians learning the history of the Northern Realm and teaching their knowledge onto others. Scholars prefer to study here in Slothian, as it's a quiet place that is filled with a lot of ancient history that they can learn from. Once I realised the culling of the trees wasn't going to work, I had to find a natural way of hiding the tree culling and making it look more natural. So I started to look for real world inspirations from colder climates and what they kind of experience, how far can they see. While looking into these natural inspirations, I realised that snowstorms and fog seems to block the distance of how far people can see. If I can implement a fog system into my game, not only will it hide the trees further away and the culling for optimization, but it would feel more natural, scarier almost. You would realise how dangerous the climate is itself. So I decided to add a fog volume. The fog volume covered most of the world and allows the player to only see so far. This still allows you to see the beautiful mountains when you're at the bottom of them and see how tall they reach into the sky, while also being able to see all the trees around you without it being too much pressure on the computer. The trees only load in when you're near them and just out of range of the fog, so it looks like they're naturally creeping out from the fog, and they're always there, even though they are hidden from sight. During this time, while I added the fog volume, I decided that it's probably a good idea to texture the trees in the world. I pulled a basic tree bark texture from online. I believe it was for a pine tree, and I decided to edit it in the same way I messed with the materials for the landscape, the same slope angle. Using the snow function I had created before and the same techniques for the distance that I'd used for the textures, I managed to create a wooden texture that had snow gently dripping from the landing on the top of the branches. This allowed a very natural look of snow landing upon the branches and only landing on the thicker branches while leaving alone the smaller branches. While messing with the textures, I made it so that when you're further away, the trees are just a simple brown colour. This allows your computer to run better and less optimization needed for these trees. While close up you can see the detailed bark, though it didn't match the tree quite right because of the way I set the trees up. This will be an issue I will fix later, but it got the point across of what I kind of wanted them to look and feel like. I still had not got leaves onto these trees because the leaves I had used had caused too many issues in previous attempts, though I did import one of the trees from my previous attempt and it seemed to run pretty well as long as it wasn't applied to all the trees. I'm going to try to figure out a way to deal with this issue and create trees with leaves that are different and look detailed enough around the world without causing any optimization errors or too much stress upon the PC. Now the last thing I wanted to add to my game was a simple day and night system, to see how it would look with the fogs and the trees and the terrain itself. To do this, I edited the level blueprint, which is normally not something that you would do, considering if you want to keep track of time and what day it is, having it in the level blueprint is probably the worst place to have it. If you go into a dungeon or into a home, you leave the level. This stops the time passing and creates a lot of issues, but for now it helps me just create a simple system that I can set up for now and change and move on to a different blueprint later on. But for now I just create a simple timeline. The timeline lasts 1,200 seconds, or 20 minutes. During these 20 minute signs, the directional light will spin 360 degrees around the world. This creates a simple morning and night and just a day and night cycle that I can see what it looks like with the fog and trees. In the last part of this video, you will see the full transition of night and day. I cut most of the night stuff as it does get very dark. It becomes almost pitch black, unable to see the character trees or any of the terrain around you. So to save you staring at a black screen, I have cut this part. You will be able to see the morning, night and simple day changes, as well as the shadows moving from the trees and mountains, which I think looks really good. So I just want to say thank you for watching. I know this video probably isn't the best quality, and I know the game is looking very basic right now, but I'm very excited to keep working on it and show you what I can make and what I can do. A lot of stuff I've done today I don't normally do, so I want to show you more when I go into the mechanics and gameplay and show you what I can actually do when making a game with the AI systems. Moving forward it is going to be difficult, but I'm excited to see this game progress, and I really hope you enjoyed this devlog. This has been really hard for me. I've never edited a video before, I've never recorded anything like this before. I just make games, and I'm doing parts of games that I've never done before. So it's hard learning all of this stuff and trying to implement it into the game and still make it good. Though I know I probably could have done more for this first devlog. I think it's a good start out simple, start out basic, and only improve over time. So I hope you guys follow along for the journey to watch me make my dream game, and hopefully it will be everything that I dreamed of it being. Thank you so much for watching my first devlog, and I'll see you in a week or two, depending on how much work and how much progress I get done.